People are going nuts about the new Tacoma, particularly its pricing. Posted a video recently talking about Toyota sales so far this year and for the quarter, and immediately everything turned to pricing. All kinds of suggestions and ideas. I've had a couple of those myself on maybe ways Toyota can get a little bit of the market back that they seem to have lost. But let's talk about pricing for a minute. You know, I've got a real world example, my real world example. You know, I looked up the price of a, I guess, modestly equipped TRD Sport from 2023. The cost on that truck, and this of course is like base MSRP, whatever, which I tried to use for both, was $38,000 and some change. We'll call it $38,000. Now, on the truck that I just bought about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it's been, my sticker MSRP was $44,000. Of course, for the math wizards out there, that's a difference of $6,000. Now that's a lot of money, right? But is it overall? You know, obviously, and every year, all manufacturers increase prices unless something really weird is going on. You know, I don't know if I can think of a time when they've actually lowered MSRP prices since I've been buying vehicles. They particularly increase them when they have a new truck or a redesign, which is what we have with the 2024 Tacoma, right? I mean, it's no big surprise, it shouldn't be, no matter what Toyota did with the truck. You know, whether they kept a V6 and put an 8-speed transmission in it, retuned it, put a turbo on the V6, or went to a 4-cylinder turbo with a new 8-speed transmission, complete body redesign, everything redesigned, for the most part. There was always going to be a price increase. So the big question, I suppose, is what is an acceptable price increase? What would people take and not complain about too much? I mean, let's face it, any price increase is going to get complaints, right? Especially from the Toyota faithful. So I had suggested in, I think, that video or maybe another one, that $3,000 to $6,000, somewhere in there is what the price should be reduced of the current Tacoma to make people happy. Now, let's look at my numbers, right? I mean, if you reduce the price by $3,000, you'd be looking at $41,000 MSRP for the 2024 Tacoma. That's still $3,000 above the $38,000 that we would have paid in 2023. Now, if you reduce it by 6, you're going to be at the exact same price. That is never going to happen. They're not going to come out with a new truck or even just a new model year and charge the exact same price. I would expect, in best circumstances, that they would increase the price by maybe a couple of grand, something like that. So at $3,000, you're $1,000 higher for a completely redesigned truck, whether you like the truck or not. I think that's a modest increase for what we have. Not saying I like it. I don't want to pay more money than anybody else does out there, right? Now, I had some comments on that video. They should reduce the price by $10,000. $10,000. That means that the 2024 would be priced at $34,000. $4,000 less than what the 2023 was priced at, right? $34,000 versus $38,000. That's not going to happen. They're not going to put out a brand new truck and sell it for less than the other one. That makes absolutely no sense from a business standpoint. Plus, they had to incur a lot of costs to come up with this truck. Whether you like the truck or not, it costs money to develop, retool, engineer, all that stuff. So to me, that's unrealistic, not going to happen. But it gets even crazier, right? I had a handful of people suggest it should be reduced by 20 grand. 20 grand, that means this truck I would have been able to buy for $24,000. That's $14,000 less than what I could have bought a 2023 for. I mean, really? If they were selling this truck for $24,000, I think I'd have bought 2 of them. I mean, it would have cost me almost the same money, right? I just think that's nuts. I think you have to be realistic, right? I mean, if you don't like the 4-cylinder, then the Toyota Tacoma is just not the truck for you anymore. You know, there's a couple other ways you can go. You can go to a Nissan Frontier, you can go to a Honda, or you can just go back to the older 2023 models, right? I mean, there's a lot of late, almost brand new 2023s out there for sale. You can still pick them up. So if you don't like the 4-cylinder, it's just not the truck for you anymore. And that's unfortunate, because on Toyota's part, I guess, is they have alienated or eliminated part of their market. Anybody out there who is honestly not going to buy a 4-cylinder is just out. Those are lost customers that you're probably never going to get back unless the other manufacturers do the same thing and go with 4-cylinders. And the only reason you might get them back in that case is because people wouldn't have a choice if you want a new truck. Obviously, if there isn't a 6-cylinder to buy, then 4-cylinder is your realm, right? You can still go with the older ones, but sooner or later, it's gonna come around to wanting a new truck probably, and you're gonna have to go with a 4-cylinder. Now, what do I think is a realistic number? Honestly, if Toyota was to try to roll things back to where I think you might make those who would buy a 4-cylinder turbo happy, I think it's probably no more than $3,000. 4 would be pushing it. I mean, if you rolled back $4,000 in cost, you'd be selling this truck for $40,000. As compared to my example, that would be $2,000 more. That's probably on the skinny side for the manufacturer. $3,000, I think that's probably realistic. Whether you like it or not, I think $41,000 is probably where it's probably the sweet spot where people wouldn't like it, but they're more apt to accept it. And again, I'm talking about the folks out there who don't really care that it's a 4-cylinder turbo. Now, one other thing I want to mention, you know, I talked about Toyota providing a warranty to ease people's fears. Because for those that don't mind the 4-cylinder, the big concern is the 4-cylinder turbo and that it's not gonna last. And there's an opportunity for Toyota to put their money where their mouth is, right? I mean, if they were to offer a longer warranty, maybe 6 to 10 years, I doubt they'd go 10, probably 6 to 8 years, something like that, people might be more likely to get behind the truck because they know it's gonna be covered for that period of time. And honestly, if Toyota believes they built a good solid truck, why wouldn't they do that if it would increase sales? Obviously, you're not going to do it if it doesn't bring up sales, but if there's no risk because Toyota built a good quality, reliable truck, from their standpoint, it really shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, kind of a little follow-up to that video. A lot of people watched it. A lot of people have had comments about it. Honestly, about $3,000 off the price. Of course, it probably depends on trim level. You could squeeze more in there for the upper echelon, but about $3,000 lower than where they're at now with a longer warranty would solve it, or at least help, in my opinion. Leave a comment. What do you think? Be realistic. They're not going to lower the cost of the truck by 20 grand. I assume they would be out of business if they did that. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.